All right. Okay, so we record for our YouTube channel while this is going, and then at some point we stop. So they may get all of this, and then at some point we stop and say that we're starting the podcast, and then we'll start in a more official way. But right now it's just
this is unofficial Chrys and Shellie with unofficial Jenny. How are you doing?
I like unofficial. I have a question then, since we're being unofficial.
Okay.
I have this Louis Giglio interview coming up. Can I be off by 29?
2029?
Correct.
We better start. Yes, we can. That's perfect for our timing. Okay. So we will make sure you get to Louis, and tell Louis hello for both of us.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Ready?
Yep. Welcome back to Rocking It Graham. We're in the studio with my good friend and soon to be Chris's good friend, because she's already in love with Jenny, because everyone falls in love with Jenny. She's known as the Channel Mom. Her name is Jenny Dean Schmidt, and she's with us today. Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Chrys and Shellie. Thank you so much for having me on.
We're delighted. We love your message. We want to help you get it out there, and it is so timely. So let me tell everyone a little bit about Jenny before we start. She is a former Emmy-winning television reporter. She's worked for TV network affiliates across the nation. She is currently executive director of Channel Mom Media. That's why they call her the Channel Mom. And she's the host of her own syndicated radio show and podcast. She also oversees Channel Mom's outreaches to homeless, incarcerated, and struggling single moms.
Which did explain what Channel Moms is a little bit, but can you say more about that? What exactly is that? I love everything that I've read about it. And now I've followed you today so I can find out more. So tell us a little bit more about what Channel Moms is.
Well, first of all, you both are, I'm assuming you're a mom, Chrys, yes?
Oh, yes. Mom, grandmom, great-grandma.
Great-grandma. Yeah.
Great-grandma. Look at you, girl. You look
right.
So thank you. I want to thank you as mothers and as grandmothers and as great-grandmother for all that you do. How about if I just give you a little bit of the vision that led to Channel Mom, that I think that will help you understand what it's about. I was in television for many years, as Shellie said, and this was before I fell in love with Jesus, and TV was kind of my religion. And as a result, when I lost my job in television and I had a little baby in front of me, I lost my religion. And losing TV, my identity on TV, my importance on TV, my sense of self-worth, all of that went away. And I felt empty without it. And I felt like I'd lost my reason to live, just all of it, truly. And what God began to slowly unfold for me was, first of all, he introduced me to himself, and that changed everything. And I kind of walked away from that false light, that TV spotlight, into the true light of God. But what he showed me one day was, you know, Jenny, people used to honor you when you were on a screen giving them bad news and yucky stuff. And yet they honored you and wanted your autograph. And then when you became, quote unquote, just a mom, nobody thought you were important anymore. Nobody wanted your autograph. Nobody thought you were, you know, doing anything that was of value. And he showed me how our world, our culture has that flipped. It's twisted. We're not honoring that position of motherhood that is raising up the next generation. Like, if moms don't do it well, the world won't go well. So it's such an important role. And I think it doesn't get honored enough in our culture, except for Mother's Day. I don't know when this is airing, but I think it's airing right now. So Mother's Day coming up. So I just felt called to honor motherhood in the media, and then to honor moms on the ground through all of our.
So you gave them their own channel. Is that the Channel Mom?
Correct. We do syndicated radio. We do a podcast. Obviously, we do social media. I just wanted to honor motherhood. I want to be part of the bigger conversation and say, let's remember how important mothers are and how important moms are as they shape the next generation. And then I wanted to help those mamas on the ground who are forgotten. So that's why we reach out to moms in homelessness, moms in prison, and single moms, because we need to lift them back up. You know, we need to remind them that God treasures them and treasures their role. So that's why we go to those mamas. And the transformation we see in the prison moms is just incredible, because they've given up on their mothering and they think their kids have given up on them. That's not what God wants. He wants us to set the prisoners free through him. So you should see the transformation in those mamas when they hook back into the idea that they can still be moms and they can still have an impact on their children's lives that is good.
That's right.
There is so much that we could unpack there, Jenny. I mean, I that's just a whole podcast by itself, because I love your work with single moms and incarcerated moms and all that you do. But today we have a limited amount of time to talk about your great new book. This is Jenny's first book. I'm right on that, right? Your debut book.
It is. I'm not like you, Shellie. I don't have multiple books.
I thought this was your first book. Chrys has more multiples than I do, by the way. But your first book is out now, the 1st of April, and it is called "Mom, You're Amazing." Why this book? Why right now?
I don't want to show people cleavage as I'm bending over, but let me get the actual book.
I should have it in my hands. My apologies.
This is it. It's all marked up with markers where I read from.
Yeah.
Mom, you're amazing, because Mom, you're amazing.
That's right.
Both of you. But every mama, even mamas, we all struggle, right? So even mamas who feel like they failed, or they're not good enough mothers, or the moms who are in prison, or the moms who are struggling financially, look, you're amazing because you're a mom, and you have in some capacity dedicated yourself to somebody beyond yourself to raise up. And in many cases, my hope is the moms across the world are raising up their babies for the one who created them. And so I just felt called to speak into the lives of mothers and say, you're immensely important. And what I did with this book was, it says, changing the world one life at a time. I don't know if that's backwards for people or forwards for people. I selected 7 moms that I thought would have stories and mothering secrets that would encourage and speak into the lives of moms who just wanted to sit down and first of all, be cheered on, but second of all, be instructed and look, what have other moms gone through, and what kind of secrets can I grasp from them? So I chose an array of moms, huge, wide array of mothers. And they have incredible stories and secrets and inspiration. I think the best thing about their stories is they share their difficulties. They share the ways in which they failed. They share their setbacks. Let me just say one mama, she was famous in her own right for a little while. She was on Oprah because of the tragedy she went through. Her name is Yvonne Pointer, and she had a precious baby. And I don't, hopefully if kiddos listen to this, they can get out of the room now, because this is kind of a sad story. Gloria was a single mom, had her baby as a teenager. I'm sorry, Yvonne was a single mom, had Gloria as a teenager, and was determined not to have her daughter follow in her same footsteps. So she emphasized education. She emphasized the Lord. She just sowed into this baby girl's life. And as a result, when she was 14 years old, she was in a position to get her perfect attendance award at school, because she was a diligent student and she had perfect attendance. So she was going to school. Mama was driving the streets of Cleveland where they were, because she had a paper route in the mornings, the mother did, to make extra money as a single mother. And she saw her daughter cutting through alleys on the way to school. And now she couldn't fit her in her car because her car was full of newspapers. So she said to her daughter, "You need to get out of the alleys. I told you not to walk like that. I don't, that could put you in danger." Anyway, long story short, that 14-year-old girl was accosted by a man in sort of a back alley who raped and killed her. And the end of that incredible story is that Gloria's secret, or so rather Yvonne's secret, it's Gloria's too, though. It's in Gloria's name that her mom has done this. Her secret is to turn your pain into something positive. And so for the next 30 years, as she searched for this man, as she worked to find justice for her daughter, she decided that she would visit prisons and she would visit schools and she would go wherever she could. First of all, to speak life into people that were hurting like she was. But second of all, to look for this man who had killed her daughter. 29 years later, this guy confessed. But the beautiful end of the story is that this woman, I don't know how, and I'm guessing as mom sitting there, you don't know how either, chose to forgive him, went to prison, prayed with him and for him repeatedly. And I think only through the love of Jesus could she do that. But man, does she set an example for us all of turning her pain into a purpose, turning her pain into something positive. And she's established an orphanage in Africa. She's done a ton of stuff, a school in Africa. So yeah, Yvonne Pointer is one of the women I feature in the book.
That's an amazing mom.
That is an amazing story. And, one of the things that I love that you said, here I'm losing my voice, is just these kinds of stories empower the mom who's not going to go through anything nearly that bad, but it helps them to see that they can overcome even the smallest of things. So when we read stories like that that are so horrific that you can't even imagine it happening to you, there's a place for that in our brain too, because you know, I know you address moms, even like my sweet young moms now of my great grandchildren. They've got toddlers and they're potty training and they're exhausted and they don't know if they're going to be able to get out the next day. You know, those kinds of things that we deal with when our children are little babies. And then the moms who have the teenagers who they don't know where they are one night, they're out too late, those kinds of things. When we read stories like this, that kind of story helps us say, you know what, whatever journey I'm in, I can do it, you know. So I just love that you've picked women for this book that have lots of different stories, because every mom out there has a different story. My story is different than yours and different from Shelley's. We all have a story. And to tell those stories is what empowers all of us to link arms. And this, I used to say, the sisterhood of motherhood, link arms together and support each other no matter what it is. And man, that is a over the top powerful story of forgiveness and love and turning your pain into something that's positive. Wow. Thank you.
And let me say, Chrys, your story must be that, and actually Shellie too, that you had your baby so young that you could look like rock stars. And
now you're pulling out your humor bone, Jenny.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, but we appreciate you for that. You know, I know, Jenny, having read Mom, You're Amazing, that this is such a timely book for where we are right now coming out of the pandemic. And your message for mothers is that, you know, despite everything that has happened and all the repercussions, you know, that our children have faced, they are perfectly situated to help their children come out of this. Speak to that a moment, because I know it's huge with you.
It is huge. One of the moms in the book, I feel bad about all these little kind of.
I like your sticky.
That's right.
One of the moms in the book, and this is going to speak to Chrys's point about sisterhood. This is going to speak to your point, Shellie, about such a time as this. One of the moms in the book is a mother of one of the men that was on The Bachelorette. I don't love that show. I think it doesn't necessarily espouse good values, but what she went through as her son was on that show, and he was one of the finalists. He was the last man standing before the guy was chosen over him. His name was Blake Horstman, and he was on a couple of seasons ago. What happened in the process of him being on that show and the social media mayhem that ensued changed their world and changed their life. And to the point where her son was virtually suicidal for a while because of the attacks and the negativity. And so she was having to really step into mothering her son again when he was 30 years old because of what he was going through because of social media. So this is what I want to say. She is somebody who says, watch your babies when it comes to social media. And it's not that moms have not heard that before, but I want to express to you, it is a life or death thing. It really is a life or death thing. So you have to set limits, you have to monitor it. You have to remind them that you in the living flesh and their friends in the living flesh, so much more important than all the stuff that goes on in that fake cyber world.
Right.
And so 2 points. First of all, when Chrys says we need to have a sisterhood of mothers, I see the enemy, Satan himself, in social media because he's there to divide us. And so Chrys so rightly says, let's be sisters. But social media is saying, let me show you all the ways in which you're different. Let me show you how your girlfriend has a bigger rock than you do and is going on a better vacation than you do and is drinking margaritas on a Friday when you're working your tail off. You know what I'm saying? And so it tries to divide us. And we have to say, no, we're all in this together. God wants us to support each other. He wants us to be unified. He wants us to bless each other. Yes, we are sisters. We're all in the same thing. We need each other. We shouldn't be divided. That's number one. Number two, Shellie, you're right to say, what about this time? Well, first of all, that division is part of this time because of all that we've been through and our different viewpoints on COVID, our different viewpoints on masks, our different viewpoints on vaccinations, our different viewpoints on the candidates that ran for president, all of that, right? It has served to divide us and have hateful divisive, angry voices that our children are listening to every day, and they're devastated. Depression and suicidal ideation that the number of girls that are trying to commit suicide or have the idea of suicide has gone up by 50%. These baby girls, these teenage girls, they've had 50% rise in the number of cases coming into hospitals of girls trying to commit suicide. Even the CDC itself did, sorry, I'm itchy. Did a little survey on how teenagers were doing in these times. And the part of me, I don't want to be too counterculture here, but part of me is a little mad at the CDC because I think we overdid it with our kiddos when it came to separating them and isolating them and pulling them out of school and breaking their parents' backs with breaking their businesses. That's just my little thing. But then the CDC came out with a survey that said 44% of our teenagers feel hopeless. 44% in a survey said that. That's like almost half of the teenage population in America. That's out of control. And so I say to every mom out there, you stand up, you reclaim your voice. God gave you a voice as a mother. It is supposed to be a primary voice in your child's life, not social media voices, not pundit voices, not influencer voices, not news media voices, your voice, mom. So you stand up and you reclaim that voice in your baby's life and you speak positivity and hope and peace and joy. Dang, I want to cry. And whatever God gives you for that baby, because those other voices are not looking out for your child. So you must look out for your child.
Right. I love that. And one thing that I try to speak into moms too is to be confident in who you are, because you've been given that job by God to be the mom to raise that child. And we've kind of bought into also a new socio world of that moms are more their friends and on their level, but no, we're not. We really are in charge of our children, and our children will function better when they know that somebody is in charge of them and taking care of them and protecting them. And that's what raises up strong young men and women when they come from strong parents who are pouring into them how to stand up to all of this. I mean, this is the craziest time to be raising a child. I mean, it's crazy.
So the wrong thing to do is to say that the culture is so loud and my voice doesn't matter and pull back,
right?
Which is exactly what the enemy wants us to do. And so I love that both of you are saying the same thing. No, we have a place, a God-given opportunity, and we're empowered and equipped to be the loudest, most influential voice that they hear. And we need to accept that responsibility, right, Jenny?
Amen. I mean,
so Jenny, you talk about, we don't have much time left to visit with you, but I know in your book, I wanted to hear you talking about how to love in those small mothering moments, because again, social media does tell us like love is taking everyone to Alaska, I mean, the big things, but how do we impact our children in those small moments that you talk about in Mom, You're Amazing?
I'm going to give you an example, but I first want to speak to something Chrys said. I like to sort of, I don't do it well enough, but I like to be sort of abreast of the research that supports what I'm saying. And I recently read a research study that talks just to what Chrys was talking about, that a parent's influence is still primary in a child's life, and a positive parental influence with authoritative oversight. And they say you can have an authoritative voice makes a difference in your child's life.
Yes.
They will have a more positive life because of it. They'll have more positive outcomes. And so you're still huge in your child's life, even if the culture tells you you're not. And and by the way, eat dinner together. They also put that in the research, that your child is more likely to succeed if you'll still sit down to dinner together and not let them be like this for the entire dinner looking at that phone. All right. So the last story, and it's about carrot tippets, and it's about how to love your child in the small moments. Her lesson was love big. And I'll try to be brief because I know I don't have that much time. Carrot tippets, you may have seen a documentary on her. There was a documentary about her that was called The Long Goodbye.
Yeah.
Her story wrecks me and humbles me and even scares me sometimes, because she was this 36-year-old mom that got diagnosed with breast cancer, and at age 38, she died. Now, I've had breast cancer too. And I'm not saying, I'm not comparing breast cancers, but my story didn't end like her story. It's 4 years later and I'm doing all right. Praise God. They found it very early. So I'm grateful to those people that find breast cancer early. But as a result of her realizing that she was dying as a young mom, and when she first found out her children were 3 to 11, I think that were the 4 babies, ages 3 to 11. She realized that she had to figure out a way to love her children big in every moment she was given. So whether she was lying in her bed after post chemotherapy and feeling yucky, her babies would come in and lie with her, and she'd just love on them and tell them how, they were a blessing to her, and speak God over them and speak the love of Jesus over them. And she just figured out a way in the smallest moments to love her children well. That humbled me, because I run around the house like a chicken with my head cut off, busy, busy, busy. And I think, I shouldn't just always be working for the big moments and forget about the small moments. And I'll give you an example. We had a difficult 4th of July once. It was just a bad day. My husband had not left the family forever, but he'd left and gone off and done his own thing. And things just weren't going well in the day. So I thought, well, I can sit here and feel sorry for myself and say, this is not a good day, or we can turn lemons into lemonade. And I challenged my babies. We all put on our socks, and we turned up the music and had kind of a sock party, and ran from one end of the house to the other, and then slid on the kitchen floor with our socks to see who could slide the farthest. We were laughing, the music was going. I mean, it was better if you could be there, but it was one of those things where I think back on that and I think, all right, you chose to love big in that moment. That was a difficult moment. You weren't doing anything big for 4th of July. You weren't on a vacation. You were in your house, and you chose to make a love big moment out of a difficult moment. So I just want moms to keep in mind, you don't always have to be working for that vacation or that 6-figure salary or that perfect size 2 dress, whatever it is. That stuff, it does not matter as much as loving your babies well in the small moments. And sometimes I find, it's the big birthday party you look forward to, or the vacation you look forward to. And I think, you know what, that wasn't as satisfying as lying in bed with my teenager the other night and having a 2-hour talk. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Those small moments are so poignant sometimes. Jesus knew that. And those small moments are just so poignant. So thank you for letting me share that.
Thank you for that, Jenny. Is there anything, we have asked you a few questions, but is there anything that you wanted to get out that we didn't give you an opportunity to say? I want you to address that. And then tell us, of course, where to find Mom, You're Amazing before we bid you farewell.
I appreciate the plug. I really do. And I know you guys have books that you could be plugging as well. I guess I would just say, I'm writing a speech that I'm hopefully going to give despite my throat in a couple of days. Everyone could pray for me on that. And I, as I was writing the speech, and it was about shining, rising and shining. It's about in the darkness, especially in times like these. Man, we look at our culture and our country and our world right now, and we could just give up hope, just as a lot of our babies have. And what I want to say to moms is, don't be surprised by the darkness. We all go through darkness. I went through breast cancer, and it was like, I don't want to be in this darkness. But that was a place, just like Jesus's darkest moment led to the best light ever for humanity, right? That those dark moments are such an opportunity to shine before your children.
Amen.
Such an opportunity. And so such a time as this, 2022, after all we've been through and our babies are feeling hopeless, you can be that beacon of light with God in your child's life, that beacon of light and hope forever until you go to heaven. So that is what I want to speak to mamas. You guys, what a blessing you are.
Oh, thank you. And we can find you at momyouramazing.com.
Yes, the book. It's a wonderful Mother's Day gift to get for your girlfriend and for your moms and everybody else. Momyouramazing.com is where you can order the book. It's on Amazon, but it's easier just to go to momyouramazing.com and click the button.
Okay.
And it makes a wonderful Mother's Day gift. And you can also find me at channelmom.org. If you know a mom that would like to be encouraged through our programming or one of our on-the-ground programs, moms are hurting. We're trying to bring our prison program to other states, like the state you're in. So I'd be honored if people looked into that on channelmom.org. Bless you guys.
Well,
God bless you.
I can just say, Jenny, you're amazing. Because
I agree.
I mean, we could go on for another hour, I'm sure, or just come over for dinner some night. I loved everything you said. I'm all about all of that. That's awesome. To all of our listeners out there, we know you've been encouraged and inspired by what Jenny said. Find her book, read it, and be encouraged and inspired. And we'll see you next time.
Bye. Bye, Jenny.
Bye.